why in the world would you want to work all week and play and come down to the 72nd hole to finish 34th? You know, I mean, that's great fun. You know, I'd turned my hair out by then, and you know, broken every club in my bag and lost all my golf balls.
In my opinion, I think Jack Nicklaus is the greatest player that's ever put on a pair of golf shoes. His record speaks for itself. You know, 19 major championships and finished second in 28 of them, and he's already won $3.5 million. And I just can't see of any one of a Nelson or a Hogan or a Jones or a Hagen or a Sarazen that could be as good or even in the same league with this particular man. And I'm proud to have played against him and beaten him, but I wouldn't want a daily dose of it, believe me. I think that he'd have been a little too rough for me day in and day out.
I think probably he might have been the best of the lot that I played with. I don't say he's the best shot maker, but he had it all together. And the power of concentration, I don't think anybody's ever been that good.
Nicklaus you'd have to say that Jack has been the best player in the world. It's hard to say in a way because Jack does hit some very bad shots, but he has the greatest power of concentration and recovery of any golfer I've ever seen.
Great, possibly the greatest golfer there has ever been. His ability to go on playing in spite of disasters, in spite of his method being a bit off, I suppose our number one.
And when I'm home, I'm home, and you know, I arrange my schedule when I am home. That I get to the office and I get done, and when the kids are out of school at 3 or 3:30, I'm going to be around somewhere if they want to do something, whether they want to go fishing, or whether they want to play golf, or they want to throw a football, or play tennis, or what have you. And so, and when I do travel, I get it all done quickly. I mean, so I'm going to go work on golf courses. I'll go hit 4, 5, 6 golf courses that I'm working on, and I'll do it in about a 3-day period. Excuse me, about a 3-day period, and I'm home. And I was 18 years old at the time. And the third round, I was at 133. Art Wall was leading the tournament at 132, and Tommy Bolt was at 134. And I was paired with Tommy Bolt and Art Wall the third round. And this was the year. Bolt was U.S. Open champion, and this is the year that they had put the fine on Tommy, and was, you know, because of his temper, and he was on a probation period for good behavior. And Bolt was you know, I was scared to death playing at that time, of course, and I went out, and Bolt was, you know, you know how Bolt would just sort of talk to you, and you didn't know whether he was trying to help you or put you off. And I don't really think, you know, I don't think Tommy was trying to put me off, but Tommy just sort of kept on talking and talking and talking. And come on, son, you know, now come on, now you can do this, son. And I remember I went out and I missed 6 putts of about 3 feet or less the front nine, shot 41 the front nine playing with him. And, but I'll never forget the 12th hole. It's the same hole as now. And Bolt hit it in the right bunker, and he'd been a perfect gentleman up to that time. And he buried it in the right bunker, and hit a marvelous bunker shot on a very deep bunker, but a buried lie up to about 10 or 12 feet from the hole. And all of a sudden he turned around, and the club goes down into the sand, you know. And he walked up on the green, and he had about this 10 or 12 foot putt, and at that time we could putt with a flag in. So he hit the putt and he missed the flag, and then just like he had a sword in his hand, he took it at the flag, and the old flag was vibrating, and I'm sitting over the side sort of shaking, you know, this little 18-year-old kid. And I'll never forget it, and I think that, you know, I don't know, I didn't know what his caddy's name was, but he had a boy with one arm. And he took the putter at him and said, "Here, Stubby." And I think his name was Stubby, but it shocked me when he did it. And, you know, I just stayed out of his way the rest of the day. But that was my introduction to tournament golf.
This is what the tournament's all about.
Yeah, I ended up shooting 76 that day, and I played with Julius Boris the last round, and I shot 68 the last round. I ended up finishing 12th in that tournament.
That was in 1958, but in 1959, still as an amateur, you were playing well and came to Britain, where you won the Royal St George's Challenge Cup, played in the Walker Cup at Muirfield, and got to the quarter-finals of the British Amateur Championship. It turned out, in fact, to be a pretty good year.
And went on, of course, won the U.S. Amateur later that year. But at that point in time, all of a sudden I started thinking about it, and I said, well, gee, you know, I'm a U.S. Amateur champion, I'm 19 years old, and I've got some sort of future in the game of golf. And but I still wasn't thinking of professionally. In 1961, when I decided to turn professional, it was pretty much a toss-up to me whether I could make more money using my golf in my business of selling insurance or playing professional golf. At that time, I was, you know, doing very, very well in the insurance business, and even though I was young and still going to college, I was doing well. And I was, you know, I guess smart enough to use my business, or use my golf with my business.
Yes.
And so, but that really wasn't the factor. At that point in time, now I'd finished runner-up in the U.S. Open. I'd been 4th the second next year. I'd played in quite a few professional tournaments, and I'd sort of had the bug to want to play tournament golf. But even at that point in October '61, I was still pretty sure that I wanted to remain amateur. And then all of a sudden, Mark McCormick came down to the house, and Mark and I talked about what was available to me, you know, from a financial standpoint. And so I just wanted to know what was available. But that wasn't the deciding factor. The deciding factor was that if I wanted to be as good as I could possibly be at golf, I had to play against the best. And to play against the best, I had to do it on a week-to-week basis, and there was only one way to do it as a professional. And that's when I turned professional. That was in November 1961, and I played my first tournament in Los Angeles in '62.
What were your first thoughts when you became a professional?
I was just excited to play. I was in Palm Springs at Indian Wells, and Indian Wells is a fairly short golf course, and I finally just said, I said, maybe I'm just pressing too hard, because I'd won see what I won, $50? $50 and, I don't know, gosh, that's awful. I should remember what my first check was. That's terrible. It was $50 or something like that. My first tournament, I won $540 in San Diego. I won $440 at the Crosby. I won $250 in San Francisco, and I won $256.12, I think it was, at Palm Springs because of a last round 65. And that last round 65 was with 33 putts.
That's
I had
unbelievable.
every green and all par 5s and 2. And shot 65 with 33 putts. And but I was using a putter that was one that I had gotten, as a matter of fact, when I was at the Walker Cup in '59. The putter was very light. It was a wood-shafted putter. And as a matter of fact, the first round I used it was at Royal St. George's in the Royal St. George's Grand Challenge Cup in 1959. And the first day, it was a rainy, windy day, and I had 23 putts the first day. I used it after 4 putting the first green.
4 putting the first
4
green?
putted the first green and had 19 putts the next 17 holes. And that was the first day I ever used the putter. Obviously, I used it, I kept right on using it. And I used it for the next 2 years. But starting out on the tour, playing the variety of greens that we played, and with just 1 or 2 practice rounds, it was very difficult to make all the adjustments with that light of a putter. So I went to Phoenix the next week, and George Lowe was there. And George said, Jack, he says, I just think you've got to use a putter that's a little heavier. Of course, obviously, he just come out with a new line of putters, and George wanted me to use one of his putters, which I wasn't smart enough at 2 years old to figure that out. And so he took me in the pro shop and picked out a putter, and I'm not even sure that I didn't probably buy it. And I went out with it. That was the day of the Pro-Am. And I went out in the Pro-Am and shot 64 that day. And I've used that putter outside of an off and on period of a year and a half or 2 years ever since. It's the putter I'm using today.
Well, up until last year, if I had a 6-footer, and you'd give me anybody in the field to putt it, I'd take Jack, even over Crenshaw and some of the others. Now, he could putt. I think that was his long suit, was his putting.
At the back of your mind, what were you really thinking about being a professional, Jack? What were your ambitions? I mean, the major championships were still to come, the great years were still ahead. How far into the future were you able to look at that point?
Professional golf?
Yes.
I just didn't really worry too much about that. I've always felt that golf is a game, should be treated as a game, and I never really worried about it from a financial standpoint or from anything. I've always felt like if you play well, the financial part will take care of itself. And so that's always been my philosophy, still is my philosophy. I think if you make the game work, then it becomes work. If you keep it as a game, then it stays fun, and the championships it allows you to peak and prepare for the championships to get your game in shape for them. And I think that's the important thing.
Is that attitude that it's still, in fact, for playing and enjoying, one of the reasons why you've managed to survive at the top for so long? Because even though you say it like that, the pressures must have been intense just the same.
That's what's fun about it. The pressures, good gracious, there's no fun at all in going around and playing a round of golf, being in 20th position or 50th position or whatever have you and shooting 75. I don't get any fun out of that. The fun is to spend all week working on your game, preparing yourself, and being able to come down the last few holes of an Open Championship and being in contention and having the pressure on you. That's the fun of it.
He could concentrate so hard that he'd never hear a camera, never bother. I said, didn't you hear the camera? He says, no. And I asked him, I said, Jack, why do you stay over that putt so long? What are you thinking about? He's, of course, kidding. He says, what I was going to have for dinner.
If I've given it my best, if I've played well, sure I've made mistakes, but a lot of times I've just plain gotten beaten. And as long as you play your best and you feel like you've given it your best shot and you get beat, there's nothing you can do about it.
The thing that impressed me the most, the thing that I respect about Jack Nicklaus, what he's always had and always does, is he never gave up.
But sometimes I've given it my best shot and I've won, so then it's all fun. But the pressure part of it is, without it, I don't think the game would be any fun.
Incredible. That's a remarkable answer, Jack, actually, that pressure is fun. I'm sure that will astonish many people.
Well, that's what we play for.
We'll never know how good he could have been if he'd not had an interlocking grip. He's been teased about that a lot. He's never been a good short iron player. He's never been a great chipper. He has been a great putter. It's hard to argue with 18 major championships.
Well, because no one admires Jack Nicklaus more than I do. as a golfer, and by that I mean the ability to put 4 rounds together. I would have to say that I think his golf swing has possibly retarded the evolution of the game. Now that sounds awful, and I would say again, nobody admires Jack Nicklaus more than I do. But he has suffered down the years through having his head a bit too much over the golf ball, which has got his shoulders working too much underneath. And it's very interesting to me that today we read that he's working on keeping his head up and flattening his golf swing. Now, flattening his shoulder turn, I should have said, which has put his golf swing just as upright, but more inside. He's trying to get his hands more behind so that he hits from the inside and releases along the line. And you could see so plainly how the body lifted and then got in the way.
I've made a few minor changes this year in my golf swing. Basically, it revolves around the tilt of my shoulders. I had gotten very upright with my shoulders, and my hands had gotten very, at the top of my swing, were pretty much even with my head, rather than behind my head, to where I could get behind the ball and release. And instead, I was hitting, very abruptly down on the ball, and I have been for several years. I first started noticing it, actually about 1970. When I played a lot of good golf during the 70s. But
Yeah.
I think I played an awful lot of that good golf with not a very good swing. And I think I, made a lot out of it with maybe my talent and my knowledge of the game, and not with enough of good golf shots.
Nicklaus always amazes me that he's so mechanical and thinking of the mechanics. At least he says so. I don't know whether he's honest about that, but always seems to me there's something gone wrong, and he's got to get the spanner and the wrench out to adjust it, or find Mr. Grout or somebody.
Jack Grout really has been your one and only mentor and tutor, I suppose, over the years, hasn't
Well, you learn from a lot of people. I've had a lot of help from Phil Rogers this year. Phil's helped me tremendously with my short game, and I played some shots at the U.S. Open that I never had before. And from time to time, people have helped, but primarily Jack Grout has been the fellow that's taught me most of my golf.
Yeah, that's been a very significant thing. I mean, with the greatest respect, at your age, to suddenly produce extra yardage is a great bonus, surely.
It's a lot of fun, too.
Jack Nicklaus, however, is not content merely to be acknowledged as perhaps the greatest golfer in the history of the game, and that's what Muirfield Village is all about. He has taken a leaf out of Bobby Jones's book by creating his own tournament, the Memorial Tournament, now a regular PGA event, and maybe one day the 4th major championship in America. In addition to that, he and his Golden Bear Company have masterminded a superb urban development round the course at Muirfield Village, Ohio. It's an extension of Nicklaus himself. It's the best. Not everybody appreciated Nicklaus naming his brainchild after that famous course in Scotland, but Nicklaus never had any doubts. Membership at Muirfield Village doesn't run into hundreds of dollars, it's measured in thousands. The pro shop is like the inside of a top quality department store, and the facilities for the members are of the quality expected in a deluxe gentleman's club. And if you want to live within an 8-iron of the course itself, then that can be arranged as well.
Muirfield Village is kind of, you might say, my stubbornness in many ways, because I probably should have given up the project halfway through it, simply because we were going through a time in the American economy when it was not a very practical time to do something. But I decided that that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to bring golf back to where I grew up. The city of Columbus, Ohio is where I grew up, is a city of, well, probably close to 1 million people. I started in 1966 on this project and started collecting land. And about the time that I had everything I needed and I had all the input of the experts, I had way too much land. So it made it very difficult to finance. Anyway, we got started on the construction of the golf course in '72 and opened it officially in, I guess, end of May 1974. The golf course itself is designed for two things in mind to start with. First of all, is for championship golf, and secondly, in conjunction with the spectator. I've always felt like the spectators had the worst go as far as it relates to the game of golf, and golf is the only sport where the spectator has to just go run all over the place and fight for his position, and it's been a very, very difficult thing. Well, Muirfield Village was the first golf course built from inception for the spectator. And it's we can probably house as many people right there as any golf course in the world. Muirfield Village is it's a reasonably long golf course, but it doesn't play all that long because most of the golf course plays downhill. I think that golf is a much more pleasant game playing downhill and where you can see everything you're playing to. So the great majority of the shots at Muirfield Village are downhill. The Memorial Tournament is kind of a unique concept. It honors the golfers of the past. And each year we have an honoree, and through the first, I guess we've had 5 now, Memorial Tournaments, we've honored Bobby Jones, and then Walter Hagen, then Francis Ouimet, then Gene Sarazen, and then Byron Nelson this year. And we have a ceremony and honoring them on the day prior to the tournament, and we have some plaques done which are put into what we call our memorial park, and the park is down sort of from between the pro shop and the clubhouse and the first tee is a little park that it's we think fairly well done, and some very nice information on each of these fellas, and we have a little gazebo which we changed the general information. We have a lot of information, and of course that's available to the people in the gallery when they see it, and anybody who comes to Muirfield Village.
Jack Nicklaus has been winning championships since his teens, and most of his major trophies and mementos are housed in the Muirfield clubhouse. It's an impressive display. And of the 18 major championships, can you pinpoint any one as being either significant or particularly outstanding for you?
They've all been significant and they've all been outstanding.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to pick one over the other,
Well, he's the record book of golf.
What will you miss most when the time comes to leave it all behind?
I don't know. I'll let you know that when that time comes. That's a very difficult question to answer.
Yes. When do you think you'll know? It's always a difficult question for athletes at the top.
It's impossible to answer.
Yes, because so many players can go on for so long playing well.
Well, I don't know how long I'll play. I'll play as long as I said many times, I'll play as long as I can enjoy it and as long as I can successfully compete. Mm-hmm. And I think that those two will go hand in hand. I think that if I lose the enjoyment of the game, I will not work at it to be able to successfully compete. And if I stop competing successfully, I'll probably stop enjoying it. So they'll work together, and someday that'll happen, and when it does, there'll be a lot of other fellas to watch playing golf.